Hello and welcome to AWCI's Convention and INTEX Expo Reconstructed. Today's solution showcase, BIM and digital tools you need to embrace. I am Anne-Marie Salvatelli, AWCI's Director of Education, and I will be your host for today's presentation. We have a poll to find out how many friends are with us on this webinar today. So on your screen, you'll see our first question to help us determine how many are in our audience. So if you can please respond. And we'll just wait a few more seconds and I'll begin some housekeeping notes while we see those responses come in. Before we start, all attendees should be on mute during today's presentation. However, we ask that you please mute your phones or computer microphones as well to ensure that we keep the line clear for our presenters. Should you have a question at any time during today's broadcast, please submit it by using the question box in your GoToWebinar dashboard. We'll have a brief Q&A at the end of our presentation, and we have some handouts for you. You can download the PDF from the Handouts tab on your dashboard. And today's presenter is Mike Murzyn. Mike is the Technical Product and Marketing Manager for cold form metal framing manufacturer ClarkDietrich. He was a key developer in the company's building information modeling, Revit. Add in ClarkDietrich wall type creator, ClarkDietrich's website, iTools, and Submittal Pearl systems. Murzyn is dedicated to help develop, educate, and simplify the technology-driven innovations for architectural, engineering, and construction industry with more than 25 years of experience in design, engineering, product, and software development for the steel industry. And we have Mike's email that we can share with you at the end. It's mike.murzyn@clarkdietrich.com. To get away from it all, Mike enjoys spending time outdoors with his family and dogs and in the woodworking shop, fly fishing, or working and fixing things at the horse farm. Joining Mike during today's Q&A is Steve Osburn. Steve is the VDC manager at ClarkDietrich, and Steve has more than 19 years of experience within the architecture and engineering industry. So with that, I will turn it over to you, Mike.
Thanks for the introduction, Anne-Marie. Hey guys, I want to thank everybody for coming on to this online showcase, and I want to thank AWCI definitely to putting this all together. And Anne-Marie, hopefully we'll be able to see each other in person at the next INTEX Expo. To start us off, we're gonna get this slide going here. This is going to be a quick look at BIM. Now, not exactly how to do BIM, but actually the resources and all that too. And we're going to look at some online tools at the same time that we helped out with, and we also have teammates that actually helped us out create tools for BIM and also design. So the biggest thing is, why do you use BIM for cold form steel framing? We'll get into that. Online tools and BIM in the design. And we'll look at a little bit the new stuff going on, how we're taking BIM to the field and what we're testing out for new things out there too. Same time, this is not how you're going to actually do BIM or use Revit or actually do all your design. It's just resources. So a lot of resources here. So this will be recorded, so it'll be great to have later on for resources, and check with new online tools, see what we have, and also check with the new stuff coming out. So definitely something good to have a recording for one. So to get us started, I'm just going to introduce a little bit about ClarkDietrich and why we embrace BIM and online design tools. So to get this started, we'll actually start this with kind of a virtual reality. Our plant and our marketing team's done a great job of actually getting into the plant and then doing a 3D 360 plant video tour. So if you have a VR machine or a VR card holder for your phone, you can actually go to our online site, goes through YouTube, and actually see this through and actually move around if you wanted to see our plants and how our plants actually working, and see our products at the same time. So ClarkDietrich operates nationwide, 11 steel plants, processing plants. Two of them are actually, two other plants are actually finishing systems. We have one R&D lab, and we have 4 engineering offices. We're manufacturing anything like you're seeing right now, from drywall studs you see now, structural studs, metal lath systems, interior and exterior finishing products, and clips and accessories, which you'll see in the slide here too. So we're using this virtual plant tour. You can actually move around if you want to. You can see I'm panning around to see different areas. So you have a 360 view, and it's just new technology. Everybody's seen it out there before. It's just something really cool that we did for our plant to help architects and contractors understand how things are made and how our processes work. These are our clips, a clip die, and our clip press. So just a great overview of how things work and get you kind of started with that. So why would a manufacturer be embraced in BIM? Well, we have a great engineering team. We've got about 60 to 70 engineers and designers. About 5 of them are doing nothing but BIM design team. And we really need to embrace this system because we're trying to help the architects show our products into the system itself, design our products, and also be able to look up tools for design and all too. We'll walk you through that. So great. We've got a little poll here to see how many people actually are using BIM. So if you don't mind going through that, we've got a great audience. So I'd like to see how many in the audience itself actually are using BIM, and then how long they've been using it. That would help us exactly know what kind of audience we have, and in the future we'll see what kind of information we'll give you later. So let that poll go for a little bit. So while you guys are going through that poll, little quote to look into is, technology is not going to replace the workforce, just empower it. So that's what we're going to talk about today, is how can we embrace these tools to get the workers out there and embrace them. The hardest part is actually trying to find the workers to embrace this technology. And what we're finding out, talking to people out in the field and talking to general contractors and subs, is that they're finding the best thing to do is go to the field workers and actually embrace them into the technology itself, since they know the background of the field. They just have to bring in the technology of the computers and systems and the layout tools. So with that background they have, learning these tools really embrace the system itself. So why use BIM for cold form steel? A lot of people have been using BIM. This has been out for more than 10 years now. Mechanicals were using it just because clashing issues. So basically this is a virtual construction system. That's what BIM is all about, is you're virtually building it up front. You're trying to figure out the problems up front, and you get out in the field later on for clash avoidance and issues later on. The hardest thing is adopting BIM. You'll find a lot of the specs now require BIM. So if you're not, or you don't have a team that actually works with the BIM itself, it's very hard to actually get into the spec itself. GCs and architects are looking for the BIM layout and all the clashes. So basically every week our team works with the subs and also the GCs and the other trades. So they're actually working with collaboration with the team itself. So the old days is basically 2D prints. So you're seeing top view typically, elevation sometimes, but it's very hard to see what's going on. So if we bring in the mechanicals and all that wall type systems, you see it gets very complex. When you bring in electrical systems, even harder to see what's going on. We're moving into the 3D world, it's a little bit easier. But once you start bringing the mechanicals in and you bring in electrical systems, then you bring in the structural systems, the structural T-beams and all that. Very complex to see what's going on without a really good tool that's actually be able to see the clashes and to tell you that something's interfering with another product or not. And you can see that little portion there was just a small portion of what we were talking about today. So this is actually a hospital that's actually got about 14 floors. So that one little portion there gets very complex when you start moving it out to one floor. So if you don't have the right tools, the right systems to view all this and actually walk through the model and then find those clashes, it's very complex. So when you're working with these tools and working with BIM, you'll see that you can work with a Navisworks system. We'll talk about that later on, but basically you can actually see the clashes of what product, what trade works with another trade, or falls into it in line with another product. So these clashes are the biggest thing about BIM. We're looking for clashes. We're looking for a coordination with basically the other trades. So on those weekly calls, our team would actually sit there and actually say, okay, who's going to move what today? And the GC would walk through the model, fly through the model and say, okay, this is our problem today. We've got 100 problems to look at. Who's going to move what at what time? So in this case, here's a good example of a sprinkler system that's typically hitting our door jamb. So in this case, we know the architect doesn't want to move the doors, so we've got to figure out who's going to move what system at what time. So we're doing virtual construction, so we're taking care of those problems up front. And you can imagine taking those problems later on is just be a nightmare trying to figure out who's going to move what in the field. So getting it all taken care up front, you change the model, you can keep on going throughout the rest of the building and see the rest of the clashes the same way. You can go a little bit more detailed into, especially for hospitals, for the panel walls itself, behind the door or behind the beds, they get very complex. So all the electrical systems, the gas lines, the water lines and all that, you can imagine how complex that gets. So if you have a great team that can do the model up front and work with other trades at the same time, you guys could work collaboration-wise to see who's going to move what system and at what time. So in this case, this is actually back in 2011. So this is 9 years ago that we were using this system here and just collaborating with the electrical systems at this time. So you can see the models on the left and then the real things on the right. So trying to get the closest as possible. And then this gives you a kind of a bird's eye view for the contractor to see what they're getting ready to build before they do it. And you can imagine a hospital itself. This is the Ginny Seeley project, I think, in Texas. That's very complex. So this is any of these projects that you see with all those gas lines and the electrical lines. To see it up front in a model would be a lot easier to be able to build this later on or be able to prefab it if needed to be. Other ways it works out great is we're actually sometimes being to have the subcontractor be in the field up front. So up top left, you can see that the panelizer, or they actually field this one right out here in the field. They pre-built everything right there in the field and left all the holes for the ductwork. So being able to leave the ductwork holes and walk off to the next layer or maybe the next second floor or so, and then have the other trades come in after you is a huge thing to have for our contractors. So if we can have the models right, we know exactly where the models and the ductwork is going to be. We collaborate with the ductwork systems. If there is a problem later on, we kind of go back to the model, trying to figure out where the models are collaborating to. You can actually fix the problem up front, hopefully, and then hopefully later on you don't have those clashes. On the bottom left, there's drop-down ceiling systems, very complex. Going through models and actually seeing it up front really helps out in time frame wise. On the right, we've got a mobile station. So the guys out in the field actually can see everything on the mobile station, look at it before they actually start building. Things are still printed out, but we like to see a lot of visuals out in the field itself. So we'll talk about other ways of getting things to the field itself. But that's a mobile station that's actually, each floor would have one, and you would actually see the 3D model, the BIM model on the screen itself, move it around and check spots if you need to, and measurements. So the crucial thing our team does is when they start up a project, they're asking the subcontractor or the contractor what level of detail you want to have that BIM layout look like. This is the hard part. We typically get the calls saying, hey, I just need BIM because it's in the spec. I basically just want the lowest level of detail I could have, and I just have to meet spec basically. So we're offered a simple system, which is basically just adding critical studs, critical stud framing being jamb posts and corner posts typically. Anything that hits that, we'll actually look through collaboration and make sure that there's no clashes on those members only. We know anything between that can be moved in the field, so we won't spend much time on that. So this is the low quote, I would say, for starting a BIM project with either our team or your team, basically just taking care of the critical systems itself. And then we'll move up into doing the framing between that system, so we can actually see if there's pipe work in that, or if electrical systems are running into our studs, we could do box framing around that. So really offers a lot of help there. Then we'll get into a little bit more detail. We're actually, especially for hospitals, they want backing systems for cabinets, they want backing systems for handrails, down to the soap dispensers. We've done projects with soap dispensers, actually showing backing systems, exactly where to locate it for soap dispensers themselves. So very high level of detail, but very valuable out in the field. Then we'll get into our system as doing drop-down ceilings or soffits. Very complex system because you have a lot of ductwork going through it. So we're able to show you where the braces go, and also the drop-down ceiling system works there too. So great for your team to work on this kind of stuff, do the modeling for this, or working with our team to do modeling for this. Other models you could work with is also exterior load-bearing systems. Typically, you'll see a lot of these being panelized. So one of the biggest benefits of BIM is being able to virtually construct it up front, see if you're running into problems, see if there's something coming through your X bracing or your anchors. You want to see where exactly your anchors are located. Everything through the BIM model will actually show you all that. Great panelizing example here. This is actually a project we've done that's, I believe this is a 96-foot tall wall. 10-inch stud walls on this. I think the contractor assembled this in two pieces. It was a 50-foot and a 46-foot stacked panel. And these are actually leaning. It's not actually vertical. It's actually leaning in. So the structure was leaning in at the same time. So our team was able to help out, do the panelizing, show the lift points, and I'm sure be able to figure out how heavy these panels were and work with the contractor at the same time before they did all the work out in the field. So the level of detail when you get into a project that requires panelizing, or maybe just panelizing drawings so you can actually field work it out in the field. This is the level of detail you'll see from our team and from your team, hopefully, being able to get into a panelizing software we'll talk about later on that actually creates all this for you and lays it out in elevation view that gives you locations of ductwork, gives you locations of sprinkler and pipes, backing locations like I explained, for all the way down to the cabinets, to the handrails, if you wanted to show exactly where the backing requires for the soap dispensers, that would be part of this panel itself. So over 100 panels per floor, you can imagine, so each panel will have its own number, and you'll be able to get a material list, building material list, a bill of material list, excuse me, and also a full material list at the very end of the game of the whole project if you need it to be by floor or however you want to categorize that. A little bit about our tools. There's design tools that we have online also that help you design, help you look up systems itself. So I'll show you a little bit of that. And then taking those design tools and then bringing them into BIM. I'll show you a little bit of that at the same time. So on our website, this will be a little interactive tool. So if you guys are more than welcome to try it out too at the same time we're doing a presentation here, is on our website, ClarkDietrich.com, we have a spot up here in the top right called iTools. And these are our design tools, our helpful tools for products and all that too. So if you go into the iTools home, you'll see the tools that we have built in there. So we've got submittal systems that everybody's familiar with that, getting the product submittal, understanding the product itself. We have lookup tools, which if you're trying to do, I'll bypass the studs, everybody's used to that, I'll come back to that. If you're used to trying to do a design for opening, if you want to do an interior opening, exterior opening, we have some quick design tools for that. Let's say we're doing an interior framing for a door, and you want to use our red headers product. You can actually figure out what kind of header and also what kind of jamb just by saying this is the height, this is the header clearance, and it'll give you some examples of what you want to use. We'll say we want to use a 3 5/8 system itself, 43 mils, 18 gauge, and the jamb we want to stay with the same material. This is a 3-inch flange red header, 18 gauge. And if you want to actually see a PDF of that, it'll give you kind of the design output, and also we'll tie along with the submittals at the very end of this. So great design tool for up front if you're trying to do a quote, trying to figure out, okay, what kind of header system do I want for the interior or exterior walls. Great tool for that itself. So we'll go back to iTools here, and Clip Express Navigator is one of the tools that actually help our customers understand what product goes where. With the vast majority of all the products we have, it's very complex to know where they work and when they work. So this is kind of a interactive tool that helps you look at the system you're looking for. So if you know you need a deflection connection, you just don't know how it's connected or where it needs to be connected at. This kind of gives you a bird's eye view of the whole project itself and gives you the examples of these connections. So if you're looking at these connections and you want to say, okay, I'm looking at something that's got to go to a end of a pour slab, or actually to a structural angle in this case, it's got to connect to that. You can click on this system itself. I'll go to one that's actually a common one that's going to a pour slab, and it's bolted. This is our fast clip, so you can actually see more detail about the product itself. Get into the submittal if you need to. Go to our website for more technical data, more submittal information. You can see our catalogs, Cad details at the same time, and we also have videos on most of our products. Helps explain how that's connected or how it works. So this is kind of an interactive tool, just trying to figure out what product you need at what time. We have it for drift, we have it for rigid connections. Rigid connections would be for curtain wall up top, and you can see load bearing on the bottom here. Floor framing connections, all the connections required for floor joists. Bridging and backing, and backing systems, all the backing systems we have also at the same time. A lot easier to see what we have up front and virtually work with that product and try to figure out what that product is, and then get the details on that product through online tools. Same thing for roof trusses at the same time. Going back to iTools, we also have Cad details. So if you're looking up something, let's say you're looking for a connection for one of these drift connections. So we have bypass drift rail clips. You can actually see we have got Cad details on that. So Cad details help explain the product, how it's connected, and offer to architects and our structural engineers, our third-party structural engineers, more information about how it's done, and hopefully put it in their drawings and bring it out to the field that way. So that's the Cad library. We also have cost savings calculators. So if you want to see, okay, using dam back versus a traditional wood blocking system, how much time is involved? It's all labor basically. So how much time and labor would be different in these two systems? So great tools for that. And we have, again, going back to the lookup tools, great tools for figuring out what type of interior wall system you need. This is a great tool for architects, subcontractors trying to figure out for bids, mainly for architects up front when they're trying to do their BIM drawings up front, is they're trying to figure out, okay, what exactly do I need here? Do I need a 2-hour rating wall? So we could go in here saying, okay, I'm looking around 12 feet, I need a wall that's got to be 2-hour rated for UL. I need a wall that's around 50 STC. And you see the very bottom, we've got a search filter that's actually helping you out in the bottom to bring you down to exactly what system you're looking for. So this is taking our traditional catalogs that we used to have. Typically, you could have one catalog for just nothing but sound. You have a catalog for nothing but UL ratings, and you'll probably have a catalog for limited heights. So this basically is a database that's putting everything together in one system as a nice lookup tool. And in this case, you can actually see that we've got a 13-foot tall, 13-foot, 7-foot tall wall. We could do it with a 3 5/8 stud, and we have a STC rating of 54. You can click on that. You'll see you've got a testing report on that, how it was actually tested. And there's also a little feature for our techs to actually hear the sound that are differences. This is kind of giving you a different sound rating between a 58 STC and a 54 STC. So it just gives you kind of a guide of what's the comparable difference on these two. Not exactly what it is, just a comparable difference. So this tool gives you really the wall type system itself, down to the layers of board, the information, the maximum limited heights. And then we have ways to take this and actually bring it into your BIM tool. And that's a couple of tools that we have that are online. So going back to the presentation, we've got a tool that actually is just like what you saw, the online tool there, for a lookup tool for walls. That is, we've got an online tool just for our Revit system itself. Revit is an Autodesk tool or Autodesk software. Revit is typically what everybody uses for doing their modeling. So Revit itself is not really user-friendly for cold form steel, so we've got to build tools inside of that. So for architects, they've got to have wall types like you see right here on the very bottom right. These wall types really are just nothing but information. The wall types hold information of what's in the wall, what kind of insulation you have in there, how many sheets, layers of drywall you have on there, what type stud, spacing, and all that. So puts it all together as information, basically. That's the I for BIM. So information basically of what that wall is, but a wall type really won't show all the framing. It's just information about that wall. The width would be exactly what they need. Area and all that too is what they need, but the framing won't be in there. So for the first thing the architect needs is just a wall type, it's called, and all the information about it. Limited heights, STC, UL information. So this tool is perfect for that. So that is wall type creator that we have for ClarkDietrich. And you can find that at clarkdietrich.com/BIM. Download it, it installs into Revit, and it's exactly like I just showed you online, but you just say, okay, build this wall, and you start drawing the wall into Revit. So great tool for figuring out exactly what you need wall type wise. There's also a system called Bim Smith Forge that we're looking into. So Bim Smith Forge is really taking it down one more level. Let's say we wanted to get to, back to my here. Let's say you wanted to see all these levels. So we brought in the design. So what we're trying to do is bring in our design into this system itself, but this is a great one to actually start building your wall type and then getting a little bit deeper if you wanted to. So this is called Bim Smith Forge. And this is basically a wall type layer or wall type that has different layers in it. And you can see all the layers are down to the primer, down to the gypsum board, down to our metal studs. So you can say, okay, I want a metal stud. I want to put this as 16 inches on center. I want to have it 18 mil. So you're putting all the details in here. Installations required, gypsum board. The architect might want to go a little bit deeper, saying, okay, well, I don't want a generic paint. I will actually want Sherwin-Williams paint. Or I want to have it Harmony. I want to have exact this swatch color. So that's how powerful the system is. So I get down to exactly what installation I want, wall stud I want, paint I want, and actually start putting that into my Revit design. So this gives you a great visual look of actually how this thing will look up front before you start putting it into your Revit tool. And you can see you've got products in there, you got our studs in there, you've got your drywall that typically right now is generic, and you have your paint that's actually telling you, okay, this squatch is exactly what the architect wants. So the architect would actually take this, you can download it from here and actually put it right into your BIM project itself or your Revit project itself. So great tool for online, great tool for architects, and for contractors to get used to how to do a wall type. Again, not framing, all just white wall types. The framing portion is where it gets a little complex. So I'll walk you through that a little bit next. So the framing side, we are using what you see Autodesk Revit is the main tool that everybody's using for cold form steel framing, I would say. Revit is the main system that's running our BIM projects. And Revit itself does not really have much for cold form steel. It has a little bit of structural stuff in it, it has stuff for ductwork, but cold form steel, it doesn't have anything in the box. So on top of that, you've got to have a small add-on or a large add-on that has a lot of detailed information about cold form steel or wood or whatever system you're trying to do. We're using StructSoft, MWF it's called. And what this does is actually has great add-ons into Revit that you could walk through your project, you can use your wall types we talked about, start adding other trades into it, and with their clash detection systems, it'll actually say, hey, this is actually hitting these studs. So do you want to make a box around this, or do you want to make an opening around this? What type of tolerance do you want to make this opening? So you could take a 1/2-inch opening tolerance around it, around the ductwork, put a header across the top of it. We've got some great custom tools that our teams customized. We put it into the MWF system itself, allowed everybody else to start using it too. So it's got our typical headers in it, a lay-in header, box header, red header. All those products are in there to actually frame from, and you can select your headers and your jams. And again, the MWF system helps with the tolerance. So if it sees a clash between trades, it'll help give you a tolerance between those and actually throw an opening in there for you too. MWF also does joists, floor joist systems at the same time, sheathing, backing, and all that too. Great system, just takes a lot of time to get used to. So one of those things, as anything, Revit you have to do a training course on, and StructSoft, MWF you have to do a training course. They provide that for you and help you with that. I recommend it. It takes a good week to learn the systems. There's a lot of tolerances, like any software would be. You want to make sure that you have them set up correctly, so you have all your templates set up, and then you're ready to actually start your projects. Another system that we haven't dabbled into, but I wanted to just mention it because we saw it out there in Autodesk University, is AWCI CAD. It's another system just like an add-on for Revit. I recommend just looking into it if you're starting new. I recommend just looking at this too at the same time as StructSoft. We haven't gone away from StructSoft, but we're always looking for something new out there just to see if there's something that we haven't seen on all of it, or it makes sense for panelizing a different way. So it's always good to look at different systems at the same time. All these systems are available on our website. Resources also are available on our websites. How to get the information, how to download it. Wall Type Creator is actually free, so you can download that for Revit. StructSoft is actually something that you subscribe to. So that on top of your Revit, you would have a subscription for StructSoft and your framing tools itself. And we also have other sources that we have out there, more about BIM, the details about BIM, and why you would take it to the field. So talking about taking it to the field, Navisworks is another system that Autodesk is using. Navisworks is one of those softwares that the GC typically uses between all the trades, since there's so much information, so many models, that Navisworks kind of brings it down to actually be able to fly through it much faster. So Navisworks, and now it's going to be pushed into Autodesk BIM 360. This allows all that metadata to be brought into one system, and you can virtually fly around it much faster. So that's Navisworks, and that's how you actually see things out in the field. And if you're using a mobile workstation, typically that Autodesk BIM 360 would actually run that system, so you can see the model faster. Other ways of bringing it to the field, and I totally recommend this, and we're trying to push our contractors as much as possible to start using total stations. In the BIM layout itself, in the Revit tool, you have the option to actually take that model and place points in there. Autodesk point layout, it's called. So all the points you can actually start laying out. So in this example you see on the right here is you can actually put points in corners, door jambs, around anchors. Everything's curved nowadays, so all those curved points can be pushed out there. And basically what you do with these total stations, you've got a tripod that actually you're walking around with an iPad. You can see the guy in the back there. So basically you're taking a total station, the laser's shooting you exactly where you need to be. Your iPad actually tells you how many inches or seconds you need to move, and you could drop your point there. So great system, definitely recommend it. And a lot of general contractors are requiring it, so definitely recommend doing that. Other ways, it's great for complex layouts, collaboration, if you need to bring something in from the field, or just try to bring out those complex curves I talked about. It's the perfect tool for that. Also for verifying existing conditions, perfect system for that too. Another thing with total stations, you could bring data in. So if you go out to the field, you take that total station system itself, you could feed points back into your model. And this example here is a heat map that is actually showing elevation changes. So if you're doing a panelizing project and you want to know exactly how much you're going to be doing shimming, how many shims you're going to need, or how much panel adjustment you're going to need, this is a great input to bring in from the field. So you can see you get a high or low elevation here. That tells you exactly where you're going to have your issues. One other way that we're experimenting on, and we've done it for a couple of years now, is augmented reality. Still have some time for this, but we're starting to look at the teams that are working with it. I've worked with DAQRI glasses. DAQRI's went out and sold their software, sold their hardware out. So we've spent a lot of time with that, just trying to figure out that system itself. And we're finding out that there's a lot of small things that you have to get used to, is trying to figure out, okay, how do I take that BIM model from Revit to the hardware itself? So for me, I was using Unity software, gaming software that you see all the games out there nowadays on PS4s. Now Unity is that magic system that actually connects everything together in this case. Very complex, but you could do a lot of things with it. You could tell things to start, to turn off, turn on. I want to see only the bottom track. So what I envision in here in the future, and everybody's starting to look at this too, is let's say you just turn on your bottom track and you can start doing chalk points on your bottom track. Know exactly where the door jamb is. You can put a chalk point on that door jamb. So the future's coming, so we're just waiting for the tolerance to get there. The DAQRI systems, we're trying to get the tolerance a little bit tighter. Things were moving around a little bit too much, so we're still trying to figure that out. But we're still looking for teams that are out there, and what we found is a couple of teams that have done this, and we're experimenting with them too in the future. We've met with Spectar. That's actually in, this was actually in AU, Autodesk University last year. They were also with Martin Brothers. So they've actually done a lot of research. They've done the little problem that I've ran into and our teams ran into is trying to take that Revit team or Revit software and convert it into something that's usable for, in this case, they're using HoloLens. So they're the missing gap that we've been looking for, and I definitely recommend looking into it also. And I've got some great videos here for them to explain what they're doing and how they're doing it, and to help explain how they're using it in the field too at the same time. So I'll run this video and then let you listen in.
AR in construction is here. Spectar is helping streamline the build process by connecting BIM to field with augmented reality. Our technology enables build teams to get BIM to the field in minutes. Spectar is built with simplicity in mind. Export BIM files. Upload to the Spectar cloud. Download to the Spectar HoloLens app. Select the project, floor, zone, and trade. Seeing BIM in the field empowers teams to build faster. In layout, teams can detect issues ahead of time by collaborating across the trades and solving problems before they happen. During construction, Spectar users can see planned BIM against as-built and capture issues as they happen, allowing them to communicate more effectively and reduce rework. Spectar streamlines workflows with a cloud-based solution, making it easy to get BIM into the field. Sign up today to demo and try augmented reality on your job site.
Then we also have a second video that's looking at time. We're good on that. Sound might not be great, but this will be recorded, so you can actually check them out again. Actually go to their website. They have this video and also other videos on their website. The second video is actually from Martin Brothers themselves. So I'm going to play this one. This is actually them using it out in the field, so they're actually getting hands-on. So I'd like to show this one a little bit, just to get to see what they're using it, how they're using it, and what the future looks like, basically.
This project is for PUBG, and it is a cave that we're going to be installing into their offices.
PUBG has 4 maps that user can choose to play, and we wanted to bring those maps into our space so that people can experience the PUBG brand throughout the space. Some of the shape was very hard to put together. We have to use the AR technology when we bring together the cave.
Well, as you see, this is a very unique project. Everything's not a straight line. There's a lot of triangles and geometry here. So this is something that isn't a traditional job site.
Spectar can be used for construction of complex parametric design projects that have difficult angles and measurements that are otherwise really difficult to lay out.
Yeah, with these glasses, I'm able to see the entire space. I'm able to see the roof. I'm able to see any of the penetrations that I need to make if I'm framing this. The first build took a course of 2 weeks. We had to weld all of our pieces together. We prefabbed all of our pieces. We built it in a little bit over a week. With the AR glasses, we didn't have to keep referring to the blueprints. We didn't have to take out any special equipment. All we needed was a laser for our elevation, and then we were able to put all the pieces together. Conventionally, we would use traditional layout tools. We would possibly have to lay out points, much more cumbersome than just putting on the AR lenses. So traditionally, there would be a lot more to building this than just putting on a pair of glasses and building it intact. As far as our collaboration with the BIM team, we were in constant communication. If we saw something that was off on the physical model that didn't coincide with the BIM model, we were able to address those issues and get them taken care of during the process of this build. Well, on this project was pretty much my aha moment. We got to see this project from ground up. We got to see it before it was built, and now the finished product is built straight from that model. So seeing that and seeing the possibilities of using that technology on this unique build, I see a lot of possibilities with future creative designs.
So great story from the field and great story from Martin Brothers too at the same time, just trying to get that technology working and testing out in the field. And we've got a lot of testing ourselves on this. Our BIM team's looking into taking that model itself and putting it into it and testing it out up front before we put it out in the field. That's what we're trying to do. Another way is I've ran into somebody shared this with me. I can't share the right side of it because it's actually a project, but that's just a picture of it. But basically what they've done is actually took the field and brought it in using our typical 360 scanning. So this is a VR 3D scan job site, kind of like Google Earth. So this was done by, I was researching it just a little bit, so this is all new to me too. I'm just looking at it, but I do recommend just checking them out, checking out Matterport, and actually seeing how they've done this. This is actually could be done with a camera from your phone. So iPhones are actually scanning in points. And the example I'm just going to show you here, hate to say it, it's wood framing for right now, but we can make it better in steel, definitely. So this is something to give you an example of what's going on. You've seen this probably in home sales and all that kind of stuff. So, but they're actually taking the framing and bringing it into the field itself. So all these points are exactly where they actually went through and actually did a scan. So with the iPhone or a different phone system that actually scans in points, you could scan in points, walk through the job site itself. Great for doing quality control. Great for just sitting around and trying to figure out exactly what's been worked on and going through it and actually seeing who's got to do what now. I believe in this one here, let me scroll back here. Whoop. You can actually do, I'll bring us back to a dowel house, they call it. So you can actually see the whole house itself. Fly back in there. And if you wanted to, since this is scanning points here, you can actually take these points and actually get the measurements from them. So all these are points actually, and I probably got the wrong units in there. What? 3 foot 5 inches. So everything can be scanned in. Not sure how good that tolerance is. That's something we're going to check out and try ourselves. But this is something I definitely recommend trying to get into and trying it out. If it works on an iPhone, not sure how fast it is to scan in, but something to look into, or having a company do it for you if it's a hospital project, as our friend has done before. They brought in the whole floor, the whole hospital project, and I was able to see the whole system there at the same time. So definitely something I recommend looking into. Matterport is out there. Check them online. They've got that example I just walked you through for the wood framing, but you can see contractors are using it for steel framing at the same time, and you're basically walking through it just like Google Earth, basically, on the job site. Just trying to stay on top of new technologies, and this is what's going on right now. So a lot we threw at you today. A lot of it's on our website, ClarkDietrich.com/BIM. You can find all this information. We've got a great engineering team and a BIM service team. Our team is 5 strong. They're working on hospital projects, everything down, you could name it. They've worked on it, done it for either 10 years or so. And they've got a great background of working with GCs, collaborating with the GCs and other trades at the same time, and field support at the same time. But also recommend working and trying it out yourself, get into it. And if you want to have us quote something for you, there's a BIM project implementation guide that actually shows you exactly what we require you, the level of detail I was telling you about. So that's all in this guide for you too, to say, okay, I want to start with a level 2, and give me a quote for that, please. Other resources we'll put on our website also. Definitely recommend going to buildsteel.org. They've got some handouts also at the same time. That's where you can find the level of BIM. They've also got a little bit more detail about what it takes to get into BIM, software-wise and hardware-wise. And BIMform.org, that's where you'll find the level of development or the level of detail. Same thing, we've got something at SFIA that's got some programs that actually does some continuing educations. And I also require you probably to go to Autodesk University. That's where you'll find everything new that I've talked about today. Every year it's out there in Vegas. It's usually November. And it's all the new systems, all the new tools, all the new software that Autodesk has brought for construction, for everything else, all the other trades you'll see there too at the same time. So they are really getting into construction, and they actually have a construction zone that they focus on. Usually the first day they close just for that construction zone. So I recommend that. Another great resource is BIM Doing It Right. This is a 10 series recorded series that AWCI has done, so I definitely recommend checking that out. So go to their website for that. And putting it all together today, we've gone through a lot, but this will be recorded. We'll have our resources on our website, and I just recommend just getting in there and playing with it. We all have to have it and trial and error, try to get in there. Use the software. You've got to go through training no matter what. Revit is very complex, but once you go through a training for what we're doing for cold form steel, it's very simple. You have to have those add-ons, so I recommend researching those too. And talking to our BIM team, have them get you started. So we'll help you out if you want to stay away from it. Our team will be able to take the collaboration also. It's just not modeling. 50% I would say is modeling, the rest of it's collaboration. That's what BIM's all about. So just to bring it on, I've got Steve Osburn, which is actually our virtual design construction manager, BIM manager. And if you have any questions, or Anne-Marie's probably got a list of them, we'll have Steve help out with those questions. Or if you want to get a hold of Steve and have him do a quote for you, I definitely recommend that also. So any questions?
And thank you, Mike. Yes. First question is, can you bring the Forge information into Revit?
I'll answer that one since I'm working with Forge and Bim Smith team. Yes, that Forge information, actually what's great about Forge or Bim Smith Forge is they are working with different platforms. So you could bring it into Revit, you could bring it into Autodesk, AutoCAD. You could also, I think they're working on for like SketchUp too, so you could actually take that wall type and bring it into different platforms. It's something I've been looking for because a wall type creator is only made for Revit. So we're looking for how do we broaden that reach to bring it into something else.
Okay, another one. Is there any current workflow that could automate project-based architectural wall type parameters and convert them into Forge to be used in MWF?
Maybe that's one's for Steve. Steve, wall types in MWF, you've got a conversion process on that, right?
Well, what you can do is you can use that wall type creator and bring it in, and it works very similar as your regular Revit walls. Where you can bring it in and you can map out, your framing schemes to match the wall type. So you can go in and match up 3 5/8 walls to 3 5/8 wall framing presets from MWF. So yeah, it is a little nicer when they come right from Forge. It'll read a little better, and it's a little bit easier to go back and forth. But yeah, you can go in and you can map those presets in there to help make the framing go a little faster.
Awesome.
Next question, do you provide prefab panels?
Yeah, we don't provide the panels themselves, but we can help assist, go through the coordination process and provide prefab panel drawing layouts for either yourself or a panelizer to go through and put them together. And if that was something that somebody was looking for, we could always put you in touch with somebody that needs to, or that can help you prefab them themselves and have them shipped to you. But we don't actually prefab them in our shops.
Okay, Steve, this question goes back to what you just talked about, converting Forge to be used in MWF. Can it be automated in the conversion?
No, it can't be automated. So there are two different plugins, two different companies. So the Forge really is geared towards going through for the architects to develop the walls and hopefully set them up properly. And then you have to use an add-on, either the AWCI CAD or the MWF, to go in and map and add the framing into it.
And next question, do you provide services related to pods, such as coordination and prefabrication?
And that's kind of similar to the other question. Yeah, we can help, if you're getting into doing pods like restrooms, head walls, nurses stations and stuff like that. We can go through and help lay those out, provide layout drawings, floor plans and wall elevations with all the trades involved into it for prefabrication, but we won't prefab them ourselves again.
Okay. And that looks like that is all the questions that folks had needed answers to. And for everyone, we did get a couple questions again asking how we get the recording. What we're going to do is download this and we'll add some items to it at the end, and then we'll have it posted on our YouTube channel, AWCI's Media YouTube channel, as well as I'm sure ClarkDietrich will post it on there. So we'll make sure you get a copy of that. No other questions have come in. So on behalf of AWCI, we'd like to thank the attendees and Mike Murzyn and Steve Osburn for joining us today for AWCI's convention and INTEX Expo Reconstructed and providing us more knowledge on BIM. And as a reminder, we'll have this recorded and get that uploaded to our program library. And thank you, everyone. Stay well and stay safe.
Thank you, everybody. Stay safe and stay strong. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.